Welcome back to Jersey Matters. The city of Camden in New Jersey was once the murder capital of the world, and now it's become the poster child of police reform in national interviews and stories. I spoke with Camden County Freeholder Lou Cappelli, who was a big part of that reform. Sir, first of all, thank you so much for doing this. I have been covering Camden for a long, long time and going to Camden for events, of course. And you must be so proud because in the first time that I remember, Camden is getting glowing publicity. Let me just read to you one headline. Camden, New Jersey is the model for law enforcement evolution. That's got to make you feel good.
It does, Larry, and thank you for covering this. I'm very happy for the residents of Camden City who for decades, saw nothing but national bad news about the city. I'm very happy for them. They're hearing that they are the model for policing throughout the nation. And the improvements that we've made in public safety have helped Camden a lot in many different ways, including economic development, where we now have $2.5 billion of investment taking place in the city, jobs being created. So I'm happy for the residents.
Everyone seems to be using the example of Camden, New Jersey to support their arguments. I'll see headlines or I'll read articles saying, look, they busted the union. That's what you have to do. I'll read an article saying they disbanded the police department. See, you defund the police department. That's what we need to do. Is any of that true? What did you do?
I'll tell you what we did, just so we're clear. Back in 2010, 2011, 2012, Camden City was facing an economic crisis and a public safety crisis. Because of the union contracts and the rules and regulations of the police department, the city could no longer afford to operate the department that existed. It was really just decades of language that very much favored the unions in the police department. And crime was out of control. So it was a very inefficient police model. We had 67 murders in 2012, which was higher than most third world nations.
So let me just interrupt you for a second, just so people know how bad it was. For many years, per capita, you were the murder capital of the country.
That is absolutely correct. Due to the language in the police union contracts, there would be maybe 8 to 10, maybe 12 officers on the street at once. And they were feared by the residents. It was an us versus them mentality. So in 2010, we began looking at different ways to change this dynamic. What we did is we put together a task force that included residents and neighborhood leaders of the city and asked them questions like, what would you look for? What kind of characteristics would you want in a police officer? What do you want your police department to do? Taking that information, and of course, consulting with experts, we came up with this community policing model that was implemented in May of 2013 when we actually dissolved the city police department. We absolutely dissolved it, got rid of every contract and rule and regulation, started new with new contracts, new rules and regulations, and a new philosophy, most importantly, of community policing, and created the Camden County Metro Police.
Are unions across the country that protect bad police officers part of the problem?
Oh, yeah. It depends on each and every union. There's different leadership in unions. Sometimes it's not even really the union members, it's the union leadership. That's the problem. And we certainly had that problem in Camden, quite frankly. But, we formed this new department knowing full well that there would be union representation of the officers. The difference is in the leadership. And this union has worked with us and in a partnership to make the city a safer city. They still protect their members in that they negotiate good, strong contracts. In fact, we just renegotiated with both of our union superior officers and our patrol officers and try to make their salaries more competitive. So it really comes down to union leadership.
It's interesting you said this started in 2013 because miracles take some time. Everybody's talking about, oh my God, what happened to Camden? But this is a long process, at least 7 years. What would you say to other departments who are now struggling with what to do with their police departments?
it's important to gain the trust of the residents that you serve. Throughout this process, we kept in touch with the clergy, with neighborhood leaders, with residents, because you have to start a line of communication. You have to build the trust. And that's what we've done over the years. And you're right, Larry, it doesn't happen overnight. It really doesn't. But right now, when our police officers are trained, a new officer hits the street, the first thing that officer does is knock on the doors of people in the neighborhood where he or she is going to serve, introduces themselves, gives a card and says, hey, call me anytime. It doesn't have to be an emergency. So we start with that basic premise of communicating. We have officers in the schools reading to school children. We have pop-up block parties. We have ice cream nights for kids. So it's just a 24/7 connection with the residents, building that trust. And because of the partnership we have with our residents, we've been able to reduce crime significantly. The murder rate is down over 60%. Crime's down about 50%. There have been thousands of less crime victims in Camden over the last few years. And if you compare what the average murder rate was 5 years before, 5 years after, dozens of lives were saved, hundreds of lives were saved. And think about that. How many less family members were affected by that?
And I'll add one other statistic. I think you didn't say it, but so I'll add it. Police complaints were down 95%, right?
They are. We train our police on de-escalation. We train our police on community policing. We just adopted a no use of force policy unless absolutely necessary, something that we worked on in conjunction with NYU. So we're very proud of that fact. And we view our police officers as guardians, not as warriors.
One last question, and it's also good news for Camden. I've been looking at the COVID-19 numbers in Camden County. I know you've been hit by it, but not as hard as most of New Jersey. Was there something that you did or did you just get lucky?
No, I'll tell you what, Larry, as it unfortunately blossomed up in North Jersey, New York, we had time to prepare down here. So with the stay at home, with the education of our residents, and our residents did a terrific job staying at home. They really did. So really all the credit goes to our residents for following all the guidelines. We still, had many deaths here. We're close to 300, but it could have been a lot worse.
Well, congratulations on all fronts, and hopefully you can turn all this good news into some investment and growth. That was Camden County Freeholder Lou Cappelli. When Jersey Matters comes right back, we're going to talk with a restaurant owner in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, who says the reopening isn't coming fast enough for some businesses. That's when Jersey Matters comes right back.